Feeling good, feeling great. Feeling great, feeling good. How are you? Welcome into Timeline T. I am the Sam D, aka Sam Disney Jr. Thursday, last stream of the week. Will not be here tomorrow to live stream. Catching flights, not feelings. Will not be able to pull up. I will leave you with some content, some clips from this week will be released tomorrow on this same YouTube channel. So tap in if you're down with that. Be able to keep up if you missed some of the stuff from last week or some of the stuff from earlier in this week. A little bit of a best of type thing. We're giving you some of the best segments I feel from earlier in the week, from this week's stream. So that'll hold you down until we get back here next week. But yeah, no stream tomorrow. Catching flights, not feelings. If you have any bets for the Clippers tonight, be careful. Breaking news for NBA heads, Kawhi Leonard out tonight for the Los Angeles Clippers against the Phoenix Suns. Does that mean anything? It wasn't looking like this series was going to go that long anyway, but Kawhi and Rusty seemed to have a thing that was going, but unfortunately, Kawhi and that degenerative knee, just not a good thing right now. They're saying it's not connected to the ACL, and his knee's been shut for a while, bruh. But anyway, we are up in here. Y'all see the title. Y'all see what it is. I appreciate those who have been consistent, pulling up to the streams or, you know, whatever, being able to watch the video content, getting some new subscribers pulling up. We have some donations as well, which is if you do want to donate, there is a link in the description there. So, you know, we've had a good amount of people pulling up and enjoying the content. So I'm glad that the audience is growing, the community is growing, and that all of y'all are getting familiar with each other in the chat. Definitely want to build upon that and keep that going. HD is in the house. What's good, HD? Oh man, it is very interesting to see how it is with the NBA, bro. It really is interesting because when you look right at it, as much as the fact that they have split that series between the Suns and the Clippers so far, the fact that the two Western Conference games are going to be going on tonight makes absolutely positively no sense. This is one of the worst things I've ever seen the NBA do. I don't know how they're going to have the Western Conference games going on tonight at the same time. And they're throwing one of them, they're throwing KD on NBA TV. How the hell are you putting KD? I mean, at one point in the very recent past, he was the best player in the game, but at least still top five in this league. You putting that man on NBA TV? Is that really what we doing? We got the Warriors and the Kings. Pivotal game 3. You could say the Warriors season is on the line. No Draymond Green suspended for game 3 because a habitual nut hitter Draymond Green just can't keep his hands, or in this case, his feet, to himself. And then we have a pivotal game 3 with the Suns and the Clippers, and that's going to be on NBA TV. Interesting. I don't know who scheduled that. I don't know who put that in play, but the fact that you're going to have Steph Curry and the Warriors fighting for their lives with all the extra Draymond drama, the habitual nut hitter drama on top of it. You're going to have him on TNT. They're going to have, you know, a huge game 3. Maybe less huge now because no Kawhi, but still, the Clippers are not dead. You know what I'm saying? Like, they can win this game. I wouldn't put no money on it. Maybe if Kawhi was playing, you put a little taste on it. But, you know, in terms of no Kawhi, I'm not putting no bread on it. But the one thing I've learned through 2 games, so extremely small sample size, is that Phoenix thing might not be as dominant as it sounded, as it looks on paper. And if you're cooking in 2K23, you know what you could do with the updated rosters with KD on the Suns. I mean, it's Swiss cheese. Oh, man. Let's get back into the comments. HD is in here heavy. What's good? I don't know if it's they don't like KD, HD. I don't know if it's that. I think it's just the power of Steph Curry. They had to make a choice. Now, the one issue is, why are these games at the same time? Yes, both games are in Cali, right? So it's West Coast time. So us people here on the East Coast, we just have to, man up or woman it up and just stay up to watch these games, right? But my problem is, why the overlap? Like, what's good with the overlap? You couldn't do one at I mean, it still would have been some overlap. Like that. How do you do that? Do you just schedule it a different day? Because remember, the Lake Show just had 2 days off before their game with Memphis last night, and that was because of a TV scheduling. So the league is trying to do what they think is best to satisfy their TV partners. How their TV partners can be happy with, 2 games going on at the same time in the playoffs, especially in the same bracket, that does not make too much sense to me. That just doesn't make too much sense to me. Because then when we're talking, I'll show right here on the screen real quick. We're showing, you got Sacramento and Golden State tipping off at 10, and then you got Phoenix and the Clippers tipping off half an hour later. That's nuts to me. That doesn't really make a lot of sense. If you're trying to build, viewership, if you're trying to build, having a built-in core audience that continuously follows these series, we're going to have to choose tonight. And what the hell happens if both of these games are competitive? What if it's the fourth quarter of Kings Dubs, and then it's, late third quarter action or maybe early third quarter action of Phoenix and the Clippers? If that game is close, you're going to have to dance back and forth between NBA TV and TNT. I'm not sure how this, look, the NBA TV thing, that's their own network, so they can just put whatever they want there. You tell me a network didn't want what could have been potentially coming into the series, a Paul George, Kawhi Leonard Clipper team versus a Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, point fraud, DeAndre Ayton Suns team? TNT don't want that. It's weird. Like, they could have put this game on TBS. TNT could have treated this like they do March Madness and have games all over their networks. But I don't know, weird, very, very weird. But yes, who had it here in the chat? Yeah, the Clippers just ruled out Kawhi Leonard. He will not be there tonight. I'm not putting it on. They're saying it's not ACL related. He aggravated the injury in game 1, played through it in game 2. But let's be clear. If you're familiar with Kawhi Leonard, his knee has been shot for about 5 years, maybe longer. Okay, he's got a bad knee. It is a degenerative knee condition. That knee's not getting any better. The reason why he's been load managed so much, and I know we've been going heavy football here on the stream, but your boy is multifaceted. We can definitely do some basketball real quick here at the top. But if we go through Kawhi, man's been playing 50 games, 60 games. Like, he just, if you watch his game log, the man don't play. 50 games this year. 52 the year, well, not the year before, a year and a half ago. 57, 60. I mean, he hasn't played 70 games since he was a Spur. He's never played 82 games. Even at his apex, he wasn't playing 82 games. So this is just who Kawhi is, unfortunately. Like, that's just where we're at with it, right? So I don't want to hold that up too much, but that is breaking news. That is stuff that is on the timeline, and people are reacting. Kawhi Leonard out, game 3, Clippers Suns tonight. That game is on NBA TV, 10:30 Eastern time. Good luck trying to watch that and the Warriors and the Kings if that game is good. Like, I don't know who you choose there, but to me, I'm going to focus on whichever game is the better game. And I'll do the job of hopping back and forth, but it is what it is. Okay, so let me not hold y'all up any longer. Let me come off the screen here. I know what the title is. We spoke on this yesterday. We were trying to decipher all of this yesterday, and I was asking y'all, Is this a smear campaign against CJ Stroud? And we had people in the chat. I believe Corey was one of them. He was very anti against it because he's all pro Bryce Young and all of that. So Bryce Young, there's no shade. He doesn't want to hear no excuses. It's all about Bryce Young. Who cares about CJ Stroud? Now we're getting people that are accredited in the media, former athletes, analysts, experts that are co-signing that this looks, feels, sounds, reads like a smear campaign against CJ Stroud. Who is this benefiting? Let's start. I'm going to start with the thing we did yesterday. We had this thing with reports, CJ Stroud. I'll zoom in a little bit. Yeah, there we go. That looks to be better. Yeah, there we go. CJ Stroud made a commitment to the Manning Passing Academy, but, quote, the night before he ghosted them and didn't show up per Brady Quinn. When you do that, that's going to set up alarms for people, right? So that's where we started yesterday, and I was trying to figure out what's the big deal about missing the Manning Passing Academy, right? And then I was like, well, why is this setting up alarms for people? This doesn't really register to me. Now, there was a little cleanup on the back end in terms of he also noted Stroud's accuracy, level of play wasn't the same when he's under pressure, said his drop-off was dramatic from when he was playing from a clean pocket, which to me is any QB. I said it yesterday, I say it again. I defy you to find me a quarterback who improves dramatically from when playing from a clean pocket. Like, if you're telling me, oh, his numbers fell off because he was under pressure in the pocket, cool. Shouldn't his numbers be better when he's in the pocket, a clean pocket? I don't understand the analysis, but he's a former quarterback, Notre Dame, played in the NFL for a number of years. All right, he gets a pass to just get his narratives off. Okay, so we're there, right? That was the backstory. We touched on that here live in real time yesterday here on Timeline T. Now, once the stream was done, everyone came running with their takes, and one was Ryan Clark. You see it here. Late last night, he got his take off. CJ Stroud never committed to attend the Manning camp. Okay? Let's be clear. CJ Stroud never, get that off, never committed to attend the Manning camp. He chose to work with his teammates at Ohio State instead before his final season. He wasn't paid to go. And furthermore, now here's where the shots start to get fired. Brady Quinn, what does acquiescing to the Manning family have to do with leading an organization? Now that's where the shots, like that, that's where the shots start, okay? That's the first shot. Now, to his credit, Brady Quinn, he's in the replies. He's not trying to duck the smoke. Now, he's saying it's on Dove, the original poster here. She's throwing shots at Dove here. He's not throwing shots at Ryan yet. It's hilarious. Dove took a 1-minute clip from his podcast, created a headline that doesn't touch on the context of the conversation. I asked why he could be dropping. I simply provided a few examples of what I was told. How is that different from what was said here? Mans just seems to be running from the smoke, if you ask me. But anywho, this is the type of time he was on, right? So we have that. Ryan Clark saw those replies and went to air it out some more. This is an example of analysts like Brady Quinn telling stories of zero value to diminish a man's character while validating his own. Preach, preacher. Instead of dissecting film or speaking to coaches, an adult man stooped to gossip while analyzing. It's an immature evaluation of football integrity. Now again, shots, okay? Now, Brady Quinn is not, he's not going at Dove now. He wants to smoke with Ryan Clark. This is also an example of an analyst not doing his homework. Arrow pointing up at Ryan Clark. There was no shot taken at his character, and clearly you don't know me, my work ethic, or integrity. Maybe do the work, listen to the pod before you start making claims. And here comes the cheapness of it all right here. I hate when people do this because this is no benefit to the conversation, but you shoot your shot, right? Also, instead of resorting to Twitter, why don't you join the podcast to discuss? Open invitation. Or I'll gladly come on a podcast of yours to discuss. Let me know. God bless. Because at the end of the day, it's just content. I said Brady Quinn jumped out the window, said the thing. He got the reaction. He got the clicks. He got the retweets. He got his name out there. He got his take out there. Now he's finding people that got some issues with him. Beef, even though this is not a show on Netflix and this is not a song by Biggie on Life After Death, but there's beef here. And now he wants to come on people's podcasts. Why? So he can promote his podcast and keep spitting his take, because content is all that matters. Content is king. That's all that matters. What can I do to drive the numbers up on my platform? That's what Brady's trying to do. He's trying to leverage whatever story this is regarding CJ Stroud in this smear campaign to make him fall down the draft boards. And now this is where we sit with it. But Ryan Clark was not done. And I love this response because it helps shut down the attempt of trying to, let's build nonsense. I have zero need to join a podcast to refute this claim. As you suggested, I did do my research. I wanted to know what happened before tweeting about it. The entire story was not shared on the podcast, left out important details that could have been provided clarity. I've had convos with CJ. So I'm getting it straight from the horse's mouth. And he's shown exemplary leadership ability. Former teammates and coaches rave of his unselfishness. I didn't question your work ethic. I pointed out your decision to use gossip as a qualifier instead of all the time you put into your craft. That's a you decision. Bars. Okay? Bars. Now, where are we today with this? Everyone's kind of standing still. Clearly, CJ Stroud's not saying nothing publicly, but clearly Ryan Clark and others, I couldn't fill up all the tabs with the people that were coming to the defense of CJ Stroud, but there are a lot of people that are coming out here and going right after your man's Brady Quinn. And they're like, yo, bro, where are you getting this information from? Where are you getting this tea from? What does the Manning Passing Academy have to do with anything? Why is that a barometer of CJ Stroud's draftability? What's going on? And it continues. Bucky Brooks, if you know, you know. Been around the media game for a minute, former player. I can vouch for CJ Stroud after watching him work at Elite 11. He was awesome throughout the week as he led our team. He was mature beyond his years, as displayed the leadership, poise, and composure of a A-plus QB1 on a field full of stars. He also spent the week learning the game of chess during his off time. Okay, all that S2 talk, all that cognitive, reactionary stuff, man's is out here learning chess during his off time. Words matter. That was put in here to push back on the narrative that was talked about yesterday about CJ Stroud bombing the S2, being uncoachable, and then the nonsense of the Manning Academy. So those were the things that were spreading yesterday to help feed this narrative of CJ Stroud dropping in the top of the draft. Despite the recent chatter blemishing his character, CJ has been nothing but an A1 dude since our paths crossed. Okay. A lot of things happening here. And a parting shot from Ryan Clark on the way out. The 2018 first overall pick was filmed fleeing the police. but passing on a camp drops draft status. It's an incendiary story using football's first family. As analysts, we use discernment before speaking to anything that could negatively affect the perception of a player's character. Now, I know the answer, but I'm going to ask y'all here in the chat, who was the 2018 first overall pick? Do you remember? It has been a few years. I can help y'all, but I thought maybe some of y'all might know off the top. I'll check the chat before I type in the year. (2018) And don't be Googling. If you don't know, you don't know. It's all good. Some people don't know. Let me catch up to the chat. I see Alex is in here. How you doing, Alex? Okay, she's tapping in on Kawhi as well. That knee is done. Time to hang it up. He's making a lot of money, Alex. I don't know if Kawhi's going to hang that up. And he's got it good. He only has to play 50 games a year. The Clippers will be ecstatic if they could get 50 games of Kawhi for the rest of that contract. Sadly. Oh, man. HD in the house. Giddy was smearing CJ Stroud and Irsay and Peyton Manning aren't cool. Well, here's the thing about that. Who would have his ear, though, if there's a problem with CJ Stroud? Who would have a direct line, whether they're beefing or not? Who would have a direct line to Jim Irsay if there's some beef or there's an issue or he feels there's a character red flag as the, narrative that Brady Quinn is trying to put out there? Who would have a direct line to Irsay? HD, Brady Quinn never amounted to anything. He better be lucky he got a job at the football. That's facts. He looks the part. So there's that. Thomas was good. Appreciate you pulling up. So that John Brady Quinn wanted as clout. People do anything for clout. Facts. Yeah. I mean, this whole culture, this whole era is just clout. This is the clout chasing era. That is the era we are in right now, for sure. Brady Quinn average bust QB. Facts, Thomas. Facts. And I think that's even generous. Ryan Clark put him on ice. That's facts. Up in case y'all forgot, Thomas is big with the LSU Tigers. So RC, go Tigers. That's facts. We have two guesses in the chat. Johnny Football for Alex. Thomas is saying Baker Mayfield. Okay. HD, I forgot. Okay. All right. Let's just go ahead and type it in. And Baker Mayfield was the first pick. So when RC is talking that talk, the 2018 first overall pick was filmed fleeing the police. Now, that's not all Baker Mayfield was caught doing. If you will Google on your own, I don't want the stream to get salacious this early, but if you want to Google on your own, Baker Mayfield, what spot was it? Just Google incognito window, by the way. Baker Mayfield, restaurant, waitress, wife at home. Baker Mayfield, waitress, wife at home. Thank me later. That's also something that happened. No one said a word, but he was out here with, with NFL sponsorship deals. Wasn't he in them soup commercials and in the Verizon commercials or whatever? Like all this stuff that where if that was somebody else, those sponsorships would have been snatched up. But because of some reason, Baker was able to keep all his sponsorship opportunities despite various things happening off the field that went way underreported. Just saying. So, yeah, so I'll let y'all marinate on that in the chat. If you want to look that up on your own time, salute. But yeah, Baker has been wilding for a while now. We know how he was in college as well. Very cocky, very much. I mean, the Johnny Football guess wasn't that bad because those two are very similar when you think about it. Like, for Baker's luck, he's lasted way longer, but I'll put those two in the same class. So we have this thing of the smear campaign, right? So let's now get into the nuts and bolts of, well, what does this mean in regard to a smear campaign? Well, Matt Miller was asking the question I was asking yesterday here on this stream. Who does it benefit for a smear campaign? Why are they telling these stories now about CJ Stroud? And Matt Miller went on the podcast and he said there's a reason we're all of a sudden hearing negative stories about Stroud, which I've not heard one of them firsthand. So again, these narratives are just coming out of nowhere. A week before the draft? A week before the draft, these stories are coming out. And by the way, if you haven't heard, we will be right here streaming live for the entire first round next week, Thursday. So a week from today, first round pops off, we will be right here on this stream. I'm not sure if we'll probably do a little bit of timeline T, maybe a quick, make sure it's an hour so I can, get everything set up for what I'm assuming is going to be at least a 4-hour stream with the first round. So we'll still do a timeline T, but a short one, probably be a lot of draft stuff in that 1 hour. And then we'll be right here for the first round. So if you want to tap in, subscribe to the channel, and you'll be notified of when we go live. So I do appreciate that. All the donations, Talil donated. He hit the link in the description. He donated, so salute to him. I don't know if he's pulling up today, but he was able to support. That's also another way to support this stream is by hitting the donation link in the description. So I appreciate any and all who do donate. So Matt Miller's asking the questions we were trying to figure out yesterday. And I think it's coming down to a point of who wants CJ Stroud this bad that they're willing to muddy the waters about his acumen, his skill set, and his character? Who does it benefit? Which is the question that Matt Miller's asking. And I believe me and Alex were in here yesterday trying to figure this out. Who does this benefit for CJ Stroud to go tumbling down draft boards? Well, if we look at the draft board, I don't have my usual one here, so we'll look it up on the fly. There we go. And you see how this is not updated. So we're using this just for the teams, right? So if Will Anderson is going to go 2, and at 3, we're looking at potentially an O-lineman, maybe Paris Johnson Jr., going to the Cardinals. So now the second QB, CJ Stroud, could go to the Colts. But if there's smoke saying that CJ ain't it, could that smoke reach Jim Irsay, and Jim Irsay and the Colts decide to pass on CJ Stroud? Could this now be a Will Levis spot? Or do they not even go quarterback altogether and go somewhere else with it? Now that leads to potential of CJ Stroud to come tumbling. Because you're assuming the Seahawks won't do it. We're assuming the Lions won't do it. Now the Raiders are in play. The Raiders are in play. But let's say they don't do it. I don't think the Falcons will do it. They're really big on Desmond Ridder, even though he only started 4 games. Bears are definitely not doing it. Eagles are not doing it. Now we're looking at the Titans. The Titans were trying to move up to 3 to the Cardinals spot. But allegedly the Cardinals asking price is too much. So maybe if he lasts this far, maybe the Titans are able to scoop up CJ Stroud. So I would think of the teams who would want to muddy the waters on a CJ Stroud and maybe allegedly use whatever resources to get a smear campaign going. It could be the Titans. It could be the Raiders. Or quite honestly, why wouldn't it be the Colts? Why wouldn't the Colts want to step in and have a built-in reason to not take him at 4? Because they're going to get asked that question. If they're still at 4 and the Texans and the Cardinals go defense and O-line and the Colts select another quarterback, they're going to be asked, well, why didn't you take CJ Stroud? Or what was the reasoning behind why you take Will Levis or even an Anthony Richardson over CJ Stroud? They're going to need a reason, a talking point, a narrative at that point in time. Seems to me to have a nice story of someone backing out of the Manning Academy, especially in Indianapolis, where there's a damn statue of Peyton outside Lucas Oil. I think that would be a good sales pitch. If I'm Irsay, I'm like, hey, we looked at him, XYZ, but at the end of the day, we saw some things off the field, character issues, whatever. So now we have this narrative out there. Whether it's true or not, it's out there. So the job is done. No matter what happens with CJ Stroud, this narrative will now be out there thanks to Brady Quinn. That's why you see people like, Bucky Brooks and RC fighting to push the narrative back that CJ's a good guy and that this stuff that's being put out here on a podcast to run the numbers up and to get clicks is fugazi. But wouldn't that be a good excuse for the Indianapolis front office to have? Well, you heard what he did to Peyton, right? Peyton's a god here. Why would we draft a guy that spurned the dude who has a literal statue out front? He turned his back, or he ghosted the dude that has a statue out front. We can't take him at 4. So now let's introduce you to Will Levis. That's what it's looking like to me. I think there are 3, if we're to believe that a front office is instigating this, I think it's between the Colts, the Raiders, or the Titans. Those are the only teams to me that can benefit from CJ Stroud dropping. And this is what, Matt Miller was mentioning here. Who does it benefit? It benefits those 3 teams. Because like we've been talking about for over a month now, we've been hearing CJ Stroud is going to be, if not the first QB off the board, the second QB off the board, and they're going to go very early, most likely 1-2. Now we're hearing 1-4, 1-7, 1-11. How did we get here? Go to the comments. Alex, not all of us that aren't black are going to the race thing. Okay. I would just ask, the stuff that happened with Baker Mayfield off the field, it was not reported. Not a lot anyway. And I don't know what other reason to look at. He was a high-profile player at that time, starting quarterback for a team that was thought to be on the rise. And he was caught out there in a very salacious way. And I don't remember the Florida Network going crazy on it. It wasn't on First Take for weeks at a time. I don't know. Off field Off-field issues matter to me if you are purple. That's facts. No, off-field matters. Off-field issues do matter. Sometimes, though, there is a disparity in terms of what's reported and how long it's reported and the vitriol that is behind those stories. The Raiders, if CJ Stroud tumbles, I mean, I think they're in the mix. If the Raiders, if they're going to go for a QB, they have to consider it. Okay, the comments are going good. You guys are heavy in the chat. I appreciate y'all in the chat. HD, no matter what color, you should be judged the same way. But this society, nope, doesn't happen. Unfortunately, a lot of that is true. Absolutely, the Colts can justify getting Anthony Richardson. I don't know if they could do that at 4, though. I don't know if they could do that at 4. I think it would be extremely controversial to that fan base. Not to us, because we've watched Anthony Richardson and we know how good he could be with the right fixing of the mechanics, right? I think that's a hard sell in Indy. I think you can sell Will Levis at 4 more than you could sell Anthony Richardson, and I'm not even saying that as a race thing. I just think in terms of seeing someone as closer to being a finished product than someone who, at this point in time, is very raw. I won't use the word project because there's been a lot of pushback as to whether or not Anthony Richardson is actually a project. I say he's very raw. He has a lot of mechanic stuff that has to be fixed. So I think it's a better sell for Will Levis at 4 because he's more closer to being a complete finished product. Whereas with Anthony Richardson, you're not sure, and it's a huge roll of the dice. Alex, yep, the front office takes Peyton as a guy. Yeah. I mean, he's the man. He's the man there. You know, I've worked there for a couple of games, and yeah, they still wearing them 18 jerseys, even after Andrew Luck. You know, even with Jonathan Taylor and all the good players they've had, Bob Sanders, Darius Leonard, like all those guys, they still wearing them 18 jerseys. And can you blame them? Can't blame them. But yeah, he is him. In Indianapolis, Peyton is him. So this is where we're at with it, right? So we're trying to figure out the smear. I think we can now safely say something is not right with all this CJ Stroud stuff coming out. The fact that we touched on it yesterday and we're trying to figure out just the fact of where all this stuff is coming from. And now we have the issue with Brady Quinn and Ryan Clark. It's like, oh, okay, well, yeah, there's something here because Ryan Clark vehemently denying all this stuff. CJ Stroud never committed to attend demanding camp. Boom, that goes against everything Brady Quinn said on this podcast, trying to run the numbers up. Saying that CJ Stroud made a commitment to the Manning Passing Academy, but, quote, the night before he ghosted them and didn't show up. Whereas Ryan Clark, RC, is saying he never committed to attend that Manning camp. He chose to work out with his teammates instead. And this is before his final season, so this is a year ago. So this isn't like this is something recent. This is over a year ago. HD, I don't think this has to do with Peyton. I think Irsay told Quinn to spin it and use Peyton's name so they can go with Will Levis. I mean, well, either way, I think that's the end game. Whether it was Peyton who put the bug in his ear or whether it was Irsay, using Brady Quinn, the bottom line is you put Peyton's name in it like we were speaking about. Once you put Peyton's name in it in Indy, there's the cover. There's the cloak of invincibility. You can get away with taking Will Levis at 4 just by invoking Peyton's name. So whether it was someone in the Manning camp putting that information out there, or whether it was Irsay getting that information to Brady Quinn, however, which way, using Peyton is the medicine there. Using Peyton is the cloak to cover the nonsense of just, well, I don't know about CJ Stroud. So we need to have a reason. We need to have something to say when we're at the post-draft press conference and we're getting bombarded with questions of, well, what's the thought process of why you took Will Levis and not CJ Stroud? Now, mind you, there have been a lot of evaluators that are very high on Will Levis. Some feel he's the most NFL ready right now. Some feel he's run the most complex and more pro-style offense right now. So there's a lot of people who are high on your man's Will Levis. So they could justify it and say, hey, we just had Will Levis higher on our board. Why can't they just stand 10 toes down? Why the need to put this narrative out here about CJ Stroud via Brady Quinn or via the Manning Passing Academy, whoever got the information out? Doesn't matter where the sourcing came from, the information came out. Why the need to do this when they could just vehemently stand there and say, we had Will Levis higher on our board? Because all these teams are going to lie on draft night. Next Thursday night when we're here on this stream, we're going to hear all these teams lie. Oh, we can't believe this guy was there. Oh, this guy was a steal. You got the 7th pick. How is the 7th pick a steal? Like I would hope the 7th guy that's taken isn't a steal. So we're gonna hear all these teams lie. Oh, we can't believe this guy fell to us. We had this guy with this letter of a grade, and it's crazy. We tried to trade up to get him. We can't believe he fell to us. Like, you're gonna hear all those lazy narratives post draft. Every team thinks they hit home runs with every pick. Even the 7th round, great value. I don't know why he was still available. Don't know why. Ridiculous. Thomas. Levis had a so-so season this year, had a better junior year. That's facts. That's facts. But I think the fact that he's played multiple years as a starter compared to just one for Anthony Richardson, that certainly will give him an edge with most talent evaluators at this level. At the NFL level, that matters. That matters. Because, we could look at the Trey Lance thing. We would talk about Trey Lance and potentially him being traded yesterday, or at least teams calling, and the Vikings being one of them allegedly, calling the 49ers to see if they could do a swap with Trey Lance. Trey Lance only started 1 year. Very extremely small sample size. And from the fact that he's been hurt for 2 years, we haven't really gotten to see just what the 49ers thought they saw. And never forget, the 49ers were trying to trade up to get Mac Jones. Never forget. So either way, they were going to trick that pick off. Whether they would have traded up to get Mac Jones or whether they traded up like they did end up getting Trey Lance, they were tricking that pick off. Okay? So, be that as it may. But, Shanahan is a god, right? He's an offensive genius. He was going to risk it all for Mac Jones. Now, maybe Mac Jones with all those weapons like Brock Purdy is going to have, assuming health. Maybe Mac Jones could be out here looking like how Brock Purdy looked. But talent evaluation, shaky in the light so far to me for the alleged QB whisperer, Kyle Shanahan. Give me Jim Caldwell all day over Kyle Shanahan. Thomas, they always lie. That's big facts, bro. HD, Levis is better than Richardson. I'll give evaluators that. Yeah, I think, and I think that's why, to me, HD, I've been saying here that if I'm the Panthers, knowing I got Jim Caldwell, I would take Richardson number 1. He still has the highest ceiling to me. Yes, he's a boom or bust pick, but if I know I got Jim Caldwell in the tuck, I'm taking Richardson number 1 instead of going up from 9 to 1 for a safer pick in Bryce Young, an albeit miniature pick in Bryce Young. So to me, that's how I would go, because I know I got Jim Caldwell, but Apparently, David Tepper, who thinks that he's an outside the box kind of guy, is allowing his team to move up from 9-1 to take the safest pick. Alex Levis also had a pro QB coach as his trainer, and he doesn't need mechanics work. Alex saying that she has heard that Panthers do have their eye on Levis as well. That's interesting. Well, then they better trade back. They cannot take. If they take Levis 1, ooh, the stream will be lit that night. I'm afraid of what the chat's going to say. If Boogie Down is in here and Levis goes number 1, I'm afraid of what that chat's going to look like that night. Oh, man. HD, Kyle Shanahan is okay, but yet Jim Caldwell is better. Yeah, I mean, Caldwell's fixed 3 quarterbacks. I defy anyone to find me a better QB whisperer resume than what Jim Caldwell has done, especially of this era. I'm almost willing to say my lifetime, but I don't know who was that lit in the 80s as a QB whisperer outside of maybe Bill Walsh, but that was more the offense, not necessarily the quarterbacks. But I defy anyone to find me the resume from a OC, assistant coach, head assistant coach, or head coach fixing, the way that he was able to fix multiple QBs who all went on to win Super Bowls. Find me a better resume. He's top tier. Alex, they have Josh McCown as their current starter. Panthers need something. I mean, look, I don't think the plan is for them to win this year, although we covered this a few weeks ago. They're going to have a really easy schedule. That whole division is going to have an easy schedule. So it's possible they could have a really good turnaround, a rather quick turnaround, if they hit on this pick. They hit on this pick, it could be away we go. It could be away we go, and the Panthers could really be in the mix. I mean, they arguably should have won the division last year. Now with no Brady in Tampa no more, that franchise takes a step back. And we don't know what's going to happen with Mike Evans. We assume he'll be there, but there's always been rumors about him being moved. And if we don't know what they're going to do with Devin White, if anything, so the Bucs could get worse rather than getting better in the very near future. So if that's the case, the Saints go out there and get Derek Carr. Still got Kamara. They got some young receivers, young tight end. There's things here. The Falcons have made a lot of moves. A lot of people are high on the Falcons, especially with Calais Campbell, and he's going to be the thing that we move to next with the next subject here. But that division's for the taking. NFC South is up for grabs. And if the Panthers hit on this pick, because again, whoever they take as the quarterback, they're going to get better because they're going to have Jim Caldwell. So if it's Bryce Young by week 8, or I don't know if they're going to do it like Desmond Ridder and wait until the back half, the last quarter of the season to let him get some run, however they do it, he's going to be better than whatever he is, just because he's going to be in and around and studying under Jim Caldwell. That's why, to me, if you could do the most fixing with Anthony Richardson, that stock will skyrocket. That dude becomes now, arguably top 10 if you fix him with all the other attributes and acumen that he has. He also did well on this S2 test that everyone goes crazy for. He performed well as well. So if you can have Jim Caldwell in the building with AR, I just don't know why you don't do it. But Bryce Young with Jim Caldwell, cool. He'll fix some stuff. He'll tinker some stuff. And, we'll see how long it takes him to get to a Super Bowl. But he fixed Flacco right away. It took a little bit, but he fixed Stafford and he fixed Peyton Manning. That's a hell of a resume. All 3 of them got rings. Thomas, Jim Caldwell should be a head coach right now. Yeah, unfortunately, I think his time is done in that, and I think that's why now he's trying to be like an evaluator, like a whisperer. Because there's definitely the way that the QB position has been commodified in this league, the way that the QB position has been, I mean, it's always been about the quarterback, but now more so than ever, it's about the quarterback. So if you have the talent and the resume, like a Jim Caldwell, you become a very valuable asset. I think he's more important than Frank Reich. I think in terms of that organization's future, I think Jim Caldwell is more important to the Carolina Panthers than Frank Reich. HD, the Panthers have a running game and defense will be good. All they need is a QB that is ready. They will win. That division will be behind ATL. Do we like their receivers? Let me pull up their receivers. I don't know if I like their receivers yet. Who they got? Thielen and who else? Let's see. Free agents, wide receiver, team salary cap, trackers, free agent tracker. There we go. Sports Track is the slowest website. It takes forever to load. Position. Who did they get? Wait, who's in Carolina? I thought they signed. Oh, wait, here they go. All right, I was looking at the wrong column. I'm about to say, wait, they ain't signed nobody. So they got Thielen, DJ Chark, Bird. I mean, y'all really rolling with this group? Hayden Hurst at tight end. I mean, y'all really rolling with this group? Like, I know Thielen is done. He's living off his prime years right now. He's living off prior work. Like, he's not, I mean, this salary is not that great, but I'm surprised that we're just saying they got good receivers. Like, do they? Adam Thielen and DJ Chark is enough for y'all? Wouldn't be for me. If that's all they got, maybe, I mean, it was a reason why it was just DJ Moore and a bunch of dudes last year, and then they got rid of DJ Moore. They got rid of Chosen Anderson, and got rid of DJ Moore. You got to do better than that. Like, if I'm a rookie QB, I'm throwing to Adam Thielen at 32 and a half years old, who, let's go ahead and keep it a buck. Like, he hasn't really been hitting for a minute now. I mean, he's a 2-year wonder if you want to keep it a buck. I mean, he had a couple of 900-yard receiving yard years, but he went over 1,000 twice. And that was it. And last year, 70 catches, didn't miss a game, 700 yards. This is your number one? Or you're telling me it's DJ Chark? And if you're telling me DJ Chark, how is that your number one? I don't know. Alex, I think with the staff they have, they could at least get to the playoffs. I mean, as long as the division is weak, like it appears to be, then sure, they have a chance. I mean, the NFC East was wide open last year until the Eagles went crazy and went over the top and just overwhelmed people by trading for A.J. Brown for next to nothing. That division was going to be wide open, and every team was tied for the easiest schedule. The NFC South is shaping to be the same thing, where every team in that division outside of the Bucs are going to have the easiest schedule, or one of the easiest schedules. So who's going to make a big enough swing in terms of acquiring talent to take advantage of that schedule? But you saw that the NFC East, all three out of the 4 teams made it. So 4 teams in a division had the easiest schedule. 3 of those 4 teams made it to the playoffs. It's looking like that type of lineup again, where 4 teams are going to have, if not the easiest, one of the easiest schedules. How many teams from that division can make the playoffs because of having an easy schedule? So yeah, I don't know about the Panthers. I know they got Miles Sanders. That's a good move, right? And I think we showed the tweet yesterday that he was talking to some media availability, and they said they're gonna be doing a lot of RPO. If they're doing a lot of RPO, that should tell you how they feel about their receivers. To be quite honest with you, in my opinion, anyway. Let's see DJ Chark. Yeah, y'all can't sell me on this. Y'all can't sell me on this. Like DJ Chark and Adam Thielen, that ain't it, bruh. That ain't it. That's not it. So, well, that's that. Come off the screen here. So, that was the CJ Stroud being smeared. What's going to happen in the draft? What is going to be the aftermath of that? So on and so forth. So, let's move on to a quick little hit about Aaron Rodgers. So, Calais Campbell did some talking. And Calais Campbell told Josina Anderson that Aaron Rodgers texted him during free agency to join the Jets so they could win a Super Bowl together. Quote, "It was appealing to have him text you, but I kept getting a feeling that Atlanta was a special place. It was a tough decision." Here's my take from this. Remember the whole thing about the wish list of Aaron Rodgers, whether it was Odell, Randall Cobb, Mercedes Lewis, Alan Lazard, and I believe there was one other person I'm forgetting. And then he tried to refute the fact that there was a wish list. I believe he went on McAfee and was like, there's no wish list, that's made up, whatever. Doesn't this certainly look like a wish list? Aaron Rodgers texted him during free agency to join the Jets. You don't think he also made those intentions known to the actual Jets? There's a list. There's a list. And there's more than the names that's been reported, because, again, Calais Campbell wasn't included on that original wish list. Maybe because he's a defensive player, and it was looking like he was just trying to make sure he has weapons with the Jets, but he's even recruiting defensive players to the Jets. When is this damn trade going to happen? The people I know are still saying draft day. So that should be interesting if it happens night 1. It might not happen until night 2 because of the fact that it involves second round picks. But from everything I'm hearing, I'm still hearing if it goes down, that's a weird way to say it, pre-post draft. If it goes down before or during the draft, it'll be during the draft towards that second round. Now, the Packers have been trying to get that first round pick. I believe it's pick 13. Yeah, pick 13. They've been trying to do a swap and add some additional picks to go in the Aaron Rodgers deal, but the Jets are not trying to swap. So now everything has gone down to the second round picks, of which the Jets have two second round picks. These are most likely going to be the ones that's moved. And once those are moved, then your Green Bay Packers will have 3 second round picks in a matter of 4 slots. So I think that trade goes down on draft day, if I'm to believe what I've been told. So here's something that I noticed real quick when I was scrolling. Mike Tannenbaum thinks Jalen Hyatt is the best receiver in this draft. I shit you not. Mike Tannenbaum thinks Jalen Hyatt is better than JSN. I will let the chat do what the chat do when it comes to that one. All right. So Tom Brady did a thing. Tom Brady spoke today. Let me make sure I got all my faders correct. So make sure, because we're going to play some sound. Tom Brady spoke, and Tom Brady was asked about possibly unretiring and playing potentially for the Miami Dolphins. Let me get the sound up here. Pop the fader up there. Y'all let me know if y'all can hear it. But this is Tom Brady answering the question about possibly unretiring and playing for the Miami Dolphins.
Spending a lot of time in Miami, now you call it home. By chance, is there any chance that you're coming out of retirement and playing for the Fins?
Oh, man. I know, honestly.
I'm just saying, you gotta...
Well, I will say, now that I'm not affiliated with any team anymore, and even though I have strong ties with a couple teams, I do have some friends on the Dolphins that I really like. So I wouldn't say I necessarily root for them all the time, but I root for my friends to do well, and several of them play for Miami. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna end, I think.
Spending a lot of time in Miami.
Okay, so y'all heard that hopefully. He ducked the question. He ducked the smoke. But what this does do, it gives me a chance to remind y'all of the collusion that was going to happen with Tom Brady retiring the first time when it was the Buccaneers. And he was retiring, we thought, or we were told from Adam Schefter, the blue check boys, and he might not have, wait, does he have his blue check? Did Elon take his blue check as well? Nope, Schefter guys still has his blue check. Schefter's paying for that blue check. Hopefully it's a tax write-off for him. All right, so that's that. So Schefter took Tom Brady retiring as retiring from the NFL. And Tom Brady got under a lot of heat and a lot of criticism because if you remember what that letter, which was him announcing a retirement, looked like, he thanked everybody, specifically Tampa Bay, but he didn't think Boston. He didn't think New England. He didn't think Massachusetts. And the Patriots fans went crazy. They were mad. They were furious. How could he forget us? When it comes to find out, he wasn't retiring from the game of football. He was just retiring from the Tampa Bay Bucks. He didn't want to be a Buck anymore because he was going to get a piece of ownership from the Miami Dolphins. Stephen Ross is a University of Michigan alum. Where did Tom Brady go to school? University of Michigan. They're boys. Even though the Stephen Ross is like 80-something years old, he's boys with your man's Tom Brady. So the move was going to be retire from the Bucks, right? Take a job in the front office for the for the Miami Dolphins, which would include an ownership piece. Now, once some time goes away, 6 months to a year, maybe a year and a half max, he was then going to unretire, and then play again for the Dolphins. That was the move. That was the plot. But because Schefter went so crazy with it, being overzealous and saying Tom Brady's retiring from football, Tom Brady had to walk it back and clean it up to make it look like he was actually retiring from football when it was really, he was trying to get the hell up out of Tampa because he wanted to go play ultimately for the Dolphins. It was going to be him and Sean Payton, a package deal going down to Miami. That's how that was going to go. But the first domino to kind of blow everything up was the Brian Flores stuff. That put them on the radar. That's why they don't have a first round pick in this upcoming draft. And then the whole Tom Brady thing got swept away in terms of no chance of that happening with all the Brian Flores stuff. So never forget. And when he says, I do have some friends on the Dolphins I really like, that's Stephen Ross, the owner. And there's some other Michigan people, I believe, in the front office as well, because, of course, go blue. You're going to keep all your peoples around you. Stephen Ross owns a team. Everyone who goes to Michigan could work up in here. You got a job for life. That's how that works. Okay. Hitting the chat real quick. HD, the Jets are dumb. They should have just traded for Lamar from the get-go, but they want to follow the owner agenda. Yeah, the owner of the Jets, he would not. Yeah, that's just not happening. Yeah, the heir, Woody Johnson and Lamar would be a great picture. It would be a great movie starring the two of them, just to watch them two move and interact and all that. It would be like, 48 Hours or some sort of buddy cop movie. I could see that happening. That would be great. But IRL in real life, nah. Alex, Jets media would never handle Lamar. Yeah, and I don't know if Lamar would handle the New York media, to be quite honest. The New York media, we are a little different. Full disclosure, we are a little different. I've been to enough press conferences, enough locker rooms, and just some of the questions you would hear. I'm like, wow, damn dogs, do you not like this dude? Like you going at dude's neck, pause. But yeah, Lamar would, and that's another thing about Baltimore, even though the fan base seems to be split, even though I don't really think it is, there's just a small minority that is being loud about why they don't think Lamar should be back. It wouldn't fly like that here. And the Jets do a lot of stuff in Long Island. And if I'm Lamar, and if he ever were to come here, I would tell him, just be careful when you move around Long Island. Jet or not, be careful. Hit up the Brickenshaw Ferguson. Maybe he can escort you around. HD, he could come back. Tom Brady, he's speaking about, he could come back. The Dolphins really are a QB away. Yeah, I don't know if they're that QB away, though. I think that's the problem with me. Like, I don't know if it's Brady, if that's the guy. Because, again, like, his numbers looked okay last year, but was he really good last year? Like, he looked bad at times last year. And again, we're talking about a 45-year-old man. I won't speak publicly of why I think he's lasted this long, but if you know, you know. What was that song by Lil Wayne and Kanye? Barry Bonds? Oops. Anyway, so I think like these numbers here seem to be a lot, right? Like 4,700 yards, we round up on the stream. 4,700 yards, 67% completion percentage. These numbers look really good. And even QB rating is not horrible at 90.7. 90.7 is kind of like the average, the median. So at 45 years old to still put up, a median QBR, a median passer rating, it's fine. But the QBR fell off a cliff. I mean, it was worse than his last year in New England, and he looked cooked his last year in New England. That to me is a better barometer than just, he threw for 4,700 yards. Yeah, because he couldn't run the ball. They couldn't run the ball worth a damn. You see these attempts. He led the league in passing attempts for a good reason. They couldn't run the damn ball. They had the worst rushing offense in the entire league last year. So, most completions. He led the league in completions. He led the league in pass attempts. 4,700 yards, 25 touchdowns. That's a huge drop to go from 43 touchdowns the year before where you led the league to 25. And for leading the league in passing, in terms of yards per game, to drop about 50 yards, 40, 50 yards the next year, but still lead the league in passing completions and attempts, that says something as well. So again, you can't just take the simple numbers. Sometimes you got to dig a little deeper, and those numbers will tell you the story. I think the QBR number here is telling us the biggest story. You go from a 68 QBR when you were a 68 and a 66 when you were coming off a championship, and you drop all the way down to a 52 and a half. Wouldn't be me. But if he were to spin the block, this is the type of roster, this Miami Dolphin team is the type of roster he would love. It's a ready-made team. They got 2 great receivers. They got a couple of running backs. Gesicki's gone, so who's the tight end? I'm not sure who the tight end is. Didn't they have what's dude's name? I'm blanking on his name. Come on, tight ends. Smythe. Yeah, they were big on Smythe. I wouldn't be, but you know. And McDaniel said tight end was supposed to be a big part of his offense, but the only pass catching tight end they had in Gesicki, he buried him. It's a miracle he put up these numbers. And that was what was troubling to me, because Gesicki was known to be a threat. 89 targets, 85 targets, 112 targets. And then you bring in this guy that's alleged to be an offensive guru under Shanahan, and he's telling you, I like my tight ends to block and catch. Gesicki's not the greatest blocker. Some would say he's god-awful at blocking. Now his targets literally get cut in half. So tight end could be a situation, but they don't have a first-round pick. But y'all told me tight end shouldn't be drafted in the first round, so maybe in the second round, when the Dolphins are finally on the board, at pick 51, maybe a tight end will be available at 51. Alex, I'm not going to be mad if Brady wants to play for one more ring. Yeah, I mean, look, he's certainly entitled to it. I think he could find a team. I mean, low-key, why aren't the 49ers in on that? He's from out there, ain't he? Like, why isn't he out? Why isn't Shanahan and John Lynch trying to convince him, with Purdy saying he might miss the whole year? Now, that could be hyperbole, but it's a thing that he said on the record. And Trey Lance, who's been injured the last 2 seasons, why wouldn't you try to see what's up with Brady? And again, it's a great team for him because the weapons are already there. McCaffrey, Ayuk, Debo, Kittle, and a good offensive line. Brady could fall. Brady don't even need training camp for that. He wouldn't even need training camp. Just give him a couple of preseason games, and he'll be all set for week 1 with those weapons. HD, the Bucs offense was terrible. Guys were injured, and we never had a running game in Miami. You got Mostert, Wilson, Tyuk, and Waddle, and Gesicki. Man, I'm going after Brady. Yeah, the only thing is Gesicki's gone, so I don't know who the tight end's going to be. Maybe he could convince, even though Gronk said he's really done this time. I mean, if Brady says, yo, it's South Beach, what's good? We know Gronk loves a party. And there's few better places to be partying at as an NFL player than South Beach. Alex, he could come back because if he rests his arm for a year, that is not terrible. Yeah, I think it. He was trying to get his family stuff in order. I don't know, and quite honestly, don't really care if he has succeeded in that, but he has certainly seemed to be a lot more reserved. So whatever they figured out as a family, he seems to be okay with where they're at there. That clearly was bothering him throughout last year, even training camp, disappearing where he left for 10 days. He was just ghost for 10 days. We're talking about CJ Stroud ghosting the Manning Passing Academy. Tom Brady ghosted a whole ass team for like 2 weeks. Anywho. So like the family stuff definitely carried over into how he played last year. Assuming that stuff is more or less situated, should be okay now. Should be okay now. And funny how your body feels better once like your mental stuff is figured out. Alex, the play calling in Tampa was horrible too. Look at the playoff game against Dallas. Yeah, that was bad. That was bad. And Leftwich is gone. So I don't know if Leftwich was the problem, but Leftwich is gone. So next will be Todd Bowles, and he'll have no scapegoat. Thomas, Saints were handling him until Evans bait Lattimore into that penalty, blew the whole game. Yeah, that's facts. That was a huge play. HD, tight ends are very important. Well, you missed earlier in the week. I got roasted by my own chat for suggesting tight ends are, tight ends can go and should go in the first round. I got roasted. I was told Michael Mayer is not a first round pick. I was told Kincaid is not a first round pick. My own chat was trying to roast me. So I agree with you, but apparently there are factions of people that I don't know if it's they're thinking old school, like back in the day. Like, yeah, back in the day, you're not taking a tight end in the first round. But I think with the uses of tight ends now and the athletes that are playing that position now, I think now you have to consider those guys with a first round grade and with a first round pick. And I'm not saying top 10 or number 1 overall. I mean, I'm talking about Mayer in the 20s, and I got tremendous pushback. So I don't know. Me and you apparently are seeing something different than others in the chat earlier in the week. Alex saying, I don't think Shanahan's all that big on Brady. Okay. I mean, well, is that more of a control thing? Because we know how Brady gets down. Brady comes in, he's running his offense. I mean, that was the issue with him and Arians, right? Him and Arians, it was all good when they were winning, but when they weren't winning, that was when the issues started. Again, HD is speaking to the control piece. He's saying the Shanahan's love control at the Brady too. I think both of them, yeah, it's just probably just not a fit. But I still think you make the call. Like if Arians could figure it out, and Arians is one of the biggest egomaniacs in all of the NFL. If him and Brady could figure it out for a couple of seasons, I don't know why, Shanahan couldn't figure it out for at least one season. Because we know, I don't think Brady's playing multiple seasons anymore. But if he's got one more in him, I don't see how Shanahan couldn't stomach it for 1 year. Alex family stuff does weigh on people. That's for sure. I mean, man's disappeared. He left his team. Leftwich wasn't the problem. Yeah, no, he was definitely the scapegoat. He was definitely the scapegoat for sure. For sure. Leftwich wasn't the problem. Arians still runs that team behind closed doors, allegedly. Yep. I would not be surprised by that. Yeah, HD, I don't know. I think in today's NFL, every team is trying to get a Kelsey. Every team is trying to get a Gronk. Every team is trying to get an Antonio Gates. Every team is trying to get a Tony Gonzalez. Then why wouldn't you take someone who projects to be that in the first round? I understand we're devaluing running backs. I understand we're devaluing linebackers. Are we still devaluing tight ends in today's NFL? Like, you can make the case for the devaluing of running backs. Yeah, that's valid. The devaluing of linebackers, that's valid. Did we not just see what Kelsey did in the Super Bowl? The Eagles had Dallas Goedert. The 49ers had George Kittle. Like, the best teams usually in this era usually have a tight end, and like a good one, not just a dude that stay at a block, like a good one that is dynamic. Alex Leftwich is part of the problem, and I think the other issue is Bowles as head coach. Bowles can definitely run as DC. Yeah, no, I mean, I think Bowles, I was never impressed with Bowles up here in New York. So, you know, I wasn't going to kill him too much because, you know, people that look like him normally don't get too much of a chance. So I was going to be the one jumping out the window, killing him. But he certainly did impress me while he was here. So we have that there. And let me see if I can find something real quick. I was looking up some other. There is a Brian Davis update, but to be quite honest with y'all, I don't care anymore. It certainly seems like it's a wrap for that. There was some reports. I mean, I'll throw it up here on the screen. Pro Football Talk had it, so I'll throw it up. Brian Davis says he's not planning a lawsuit if he's not permitted to buy the Commanders. That said, an interesting lawsuit could be filed by someone who wants to challenge the NFL's ownership transfer rules as an antitrust violation. There's no reason to think Brian Davis can meet the NFL's stringent ownership requirements, so he's either doing this for free PR or for some other reason. It's not totally crazy to think he's the front man for an eventual effort to challenge the league's ownership rules. So, clearly, either Brian Davis has funny money or potentially he could be the front man for something larger, like a deeper, darker link, right? I'm just mad that we're here now. Having someone with a $7 billion cash offer that would have been the first black owner in the NFL, and seeing what the NFL was going to try to do with that, that was going to be the story to me. But the fact that it's Brian Davis, and like we've been speaking about here ever since the story broke last Friday, he has a sordid history. He's a scammer, allegedly. Sean Merriman took to his Twitter account and was airing out the business behind the scenes, and the money's still owed and so on and so forth. So Brian Davis, nefarious, scammer, felonious, whatever words you want to use, problematic as hell, right? So there's your Brian Davis update. Let's see. And speaking about running backs being devalued, here's what we have with the Lions. Lions GM Brad Holmes on taking a running back with a high pick. Quote, I understand the narrative. I don't think anyone said in 2016, 17, or 18, quote, oh man, the Rams took Todd Gurley at 10. He was just a really good running back, and we didn't bat an eye. Footnote, Holmes was with the Rams when they took Gurley. So now, even though the Lions went out there and got Montgomery from the Bears, we know they're not going to do it at 6. At 18, would you take Bijan? We know they're not doing it at 6. We know that. At 18, would you take Bijan Robinson? Because I think that's why we're getting that quote from the Lions GM. All right. Thank you for those who are pulling up. If you can tap that like, I would appreciate it. If you want to support the channel, there is a donation in the link. Shout out to Talil who donated. Let's see. Alex, I am from Tampa originally, lived right down the road from Raymond James for years. And yeah, if you want to be a coach in Tampa, you need to be strong, and Bowles is not. Okay. He has that quiet demeanor. He has that reserve thing going for him that has helped him, I'm sure, in his career, because he's not looked upon as the loud person of color, which is a narrative. But in terms of, I just don't think the scheming is there. And yes, he's a good coordinator, but I mean, so were the Ryan brothers. So it's like being a coordinator, like there's levels in coordinating. Was he D'Amico Ryan's good? No. Was he even Robert Saleh good? No. In my opinion. So I don't even really know how good he is anymore as a DC. I never felt that confident about him. He didn't instill anything in me, former player and all that. So he has some pedigree there, but yeah, he just didn't. He never just moved the needle for me in that way. Corey, Brian Davis deal fell through. Well, it depends on if you believe in the funny money or not. The $7 billion cash bid was submitted in March. The deal is still pending, but because of the vetting that has to go through, and the vetting has come up short so far. And like we spoke about yesterday, I don't think you were here for this part, but Sean Merriman, former linebacker, Chargers, edge rusher, Chargers, Bills, and I think he bounced around a few other teams. He was owed $3 million by Brian Davis. Merriman took him to court for the $3 million, and he won $4 million. Some payments were made to pay back that $4 million that was owed to him, and then the money stopped. And just days after Brian Davis submitted his proposal for to buy the Washington Commanders for $7 billion, the company that he has owned and has oversaw was sued for back payments. So yeah, not happening. $7 billion cash. It sounded good. I would have loved that story. I would have loved it. Let the league say no to the black owner with $7 billion cash. Who's from there? Guy went to Duke. Like that narrative, that resume would have been insane. He's built a few companies in tech and agriculture. What? Straight cash, homie? You still saying no? Oh, it's on. But no. Funny money. Alex, Bull shows zero emotions, but I'm a Bucks fan. No, I do remember. Yeah, I mean, I think you have every right to feel the way that you feel. I mean, I think the zero emotions thing has helped him in like pressure moments, like pressurized moments. But in terms of getting a team fired up or, invigorating something, no. But I guess not every coach is that. Like, not every fiery coach is successful. But you need something sometimes. Sometimes you need to galvanize a group in some kind of way. It doesn't always have to be yelling or breaking shit in the locker room or anything like that. But I just haven't heard any former player or whatever speak to that for Todd Bowles. HD is going to talk about Dungy. See, the thing with Dungy is we've seen Dungy show emotion. So yes, he certainly has his way, and I do not co-sign a lot of his ways. But he has at least emoted, whereas Todd Bowles, whether they're down 40 or up 40, it's the same face. And while that's cool in certain aspects, in certain levels of football, I don't think that's necessary, or I don't think that's beneficial at the NFL level. Alex is one of those people. She is a two-team fan. Steelers and Bucks. And well, at least you got one quarterback between the two teams. Corey, who has paying a running back worked out for? I don't think we're talking about paying. We're talking about drafting a running back high. Because that's the notion of Bijan right now. But I mean, in general, I mean, Corey always wants to go back in time. So if we're doing that, definitely no running backs this year, right? No running backs of note. I mean, Rashad Penny could be good in Philly, but no big contract there. Highest paid is Miles Sanders. I mean, Sanders should be good. Montgomery, I would have never. Yeah, I think obviously the running back position has been devalued. So you got to go back. You got to go back some years to where a free agent running back has been like that. But we're talking about the draft, though. The draft, we could find running backs that have been worth it. HD would take Bijan at 18. 18 or 15. So you would take him even if you were the, who's that? The Packers, right? The Packers are 15. You think the Packers need a running back? Didn't they just fix, was it Dylan or Aaron Jones' contract? We had Lombardi Leap in here earlier in the week, and I think we asked him if he would do Bijan. And he gave us the whole running back room breakdown. Alex, I can agree on Arians, but I think the Glazers will keep him until it's extremely apparent that the organization is hurting. You don't think this is his last year, no matter what? I would think this is his last year. I mean, they've gotten rid of all the other scapegoats, unless they're going to use the fact of Brady leaving and Fournette leaving and so on and so forth to be like, all right, well, this is like quasi rebuilding on the fly, so we can't really get rid of Bowles after this first official rebuild year. Maybe they can use that, but I would think this is his last year, unless we see a significant improvement. Alex, the Roonies aren't getting rid of Mike Tomlin, even though I think it might be time to get some fresh eyes in it. Really? I'm not sure how I feel about Tomlin, to be quite honest with you. Like, Tomlin is an enigma to me. Like, I think he's a really good coach, like, great coach. But with this organization, now I feel like he's finally able to build a true roster under his vision. Because, you know, with Big Ben and AB and then pivoting away from that, like, you were finally just able to get rid of Big Ben. Now you finally have a QB. You got some running backs in your image. You're retooling the whole wide receiver thing, even though I'm not a fan of the Allen Robinson thing. I understand giving up on Claypool, I guess, but swapping that out with old, potentially washed Allen Robinson, shaky free agency. But obviously, you got T.J. Watt, you're good. You got Minka Fitzpatrick, you're good. Like, you still have some pieces there, clearly. But interesting on how they're trying to rebuild and still be competitive. That's always a dicey thing. When you're trying to retool, maybe not rebuild is the word, maybe retool on the fly and still remain competitive. Alex Dungy could also galvanize the group. I mean, you would know, you saw it in Tampa, right? So my only issue with Dungy is some of the off the field stuff and the whole Tampa 2 thing. As a former Chicago Bear fan, I detest anything that revolves around the Tampa 2. I think it's a cop-out defense. I am not here for a zone being your main weapon of choice as a defense. It's just hurts me to my soul when I see a team predominantly in zone. Let's see. Thomas. Same as Dennis Allen. I don't know what we are doing. It doesn't get done. He needs to go. Yeah, I agree. I'm really surprised he was able to retain his job, Thomas. I'm really surprised. HD seems to agree. Dennis Allen is a DC, not a HC. Corey, the way Jerry Jones explained it, when you draft a player that high, you have to get at least 2 contracts from them. You've given a running back 2 contracts. If he's Bijan, yes. That's the thing. Like, just because it's devalued and there's valid arguments to be made as to why running backs are devalued, that doesn't mean someone who I feel is as good as Bijan. Is there no longer exceptions to a rule? And even when we're saying an exception, we're saying just the first round. We're not saying take him top 10. We're not saying take him at 5. We're not even saying take him at 10. But you're telling me if I'm 11 and I'm the Titans and I know Derrick Henry, they try to trade Derrick Henry and potentially Derrick Henry's going to walk after this year. I have Ryan Tannehill leaving. Maybe you try to go ultra cheap and see if you could squeeze anything out of Malik Willis. I think Bijan can make Malik Willis's life a lot easier. Or if you're the Patriots, you want to make Mac Jones' life easier? Or your man Zeppi? You could take Bijan. If you're the Commanders and you're out here, I know they got Brian Robinson, but you need 2 running backs today. And Brian Robinson's not that great out the backfield. He's okay, but he ain't Bijan when it comes to catching the rock. You're the Lions. I know you just paid Montgomery all that money, and you still got Swift, but maybe you leverage Swift on draft day. If you're the Bucks, Fournette just walked. You let Fournette go. I know, who is it? Rashard Jones. He thinks he's nice. He can think that all he wants. He ain't no Bijan. And then you got the Chargers with Austin Eckler. Austin Eckler wants out. Package him, go get some more draft collateral, and draft Bijan. Your team is better in all facets. So I think if it's someone that's projected to be as special as Bijan, yes, I'm thinking I'm getting 2 contracts for him. And if not, it's running backs. Like, I think if you could get the best 3-4 years of Bijan, or 5 years if he's a first round pick, I'll take 5 years of Bijan. Put him on the tag like the Raiders are doing with Josh Jacobs. Put him on the tag. That's the thing with the NFL. You have control. You can lock these guys in. Lock them in for 5 years. The Raiders are getting the best of Josh Jacobs right now. They don't really concern themselves with no pick. He led the league in rushing, and they still wouldn't extend him because they got him locked up for the next 2 years if they want him. Yeah, Adrian Peterson was a high pick, and he was special. But he might have been of the ilk of the last. He might have been of the last era when running backs were still considered top 5, top 10, top 15 picks. And off-field issues in abundance. And still, unfortunately, for all day. Thomas agreed, bro. Should have hired Eric Bieniemy. Yeah, a lot of teams should have hired Eric Bieniemy. The fact that he's still not a head coach is ridiculous. Man's had to go all the way to Washington just to have the thing of I called plays full time. Even though the 2 coaches that got hired from Andy Reid's coaching tree prior to Eric Bieniemy they also didn't have full play calling responsibilities, but that didn't stop them from getting head coaching opportunities. And yes, those two candidates were not melanated like Eric Bieniemy. It is what it is. Y'all are active in the chat. I always appreciate that. Tomlin is fine, but Arians and Bowles need to go. I don't think Arians is going anywhere. Bowles, I think, is on a hot seat. But again, they have an easy schedule. He can trick them again. He could trick them. Peterson's a Hall of Famer, great pick. Yeah, I mean, look, I think if you're talking about the history of running backs, let's see. if we're going to do that, because again, it is being devalued, but I think there is a rush to just put all running backs into one grouping, and I don't think that's something you can do. Draft history. Okay. All right, so. Oh, that's zoomed in too far. All right, can y'all see that? Yeah, y'all can see that. All right, so we got last year. Damn, I didn't realize there was this many running backs taken last year. Would you take Breece Hall again in the second round? I'm assuming the answer is yes. We would all take Kenneth Walker in the second round. I mean, you could argue you could take Breece Hall in the first round. If we redrafted, is Breece Hall a first rounder? Based off what we saw, yes, he got hurt. So we were, denied full access to what he could be. But if we redraft, is Breece Hall a first round pick? In my opinion, he is. So the fact that the Jets got him here is a steal. And Brian Robinson, after what we saw, him as a third round pick, if we redraft, he's not a third rounder. He's probably a second rounder, a high second rounder, right? He's probably in the Breece Hall spot. You could argue maybe bottom of the first round. Dameon Pierce, after what he showed you as a fourth round pick, if we redraft, knowing the results that we have, is he still being drafted in the fourth round? And I'll ask Alex. Alex, would you still take Najee Harris in the first round? Is Travis Etienne still a first round pick if we redraft? Michael Carter probably is not a fourth round pick if we redraft. I mean, Khalil Herbert could be, yeah. He was starting for the Bears last year. Sixth round pick. So you can take that either way. You could take that as running backs are so disposable that a sixth round pick could start, or that the running back class is so deep with talented players that a sixth rounder could start. Depends on how you look at it. And Edwards-Helaire, I don't know if Thomas is still in here. He could let us know if, he's a big LSU guy. So he can let us know if he still thinks Edwards-Helaire is still worth a first round pick if he had to redraft. Jonathan Taylor as a second round pick. Is he still going in the second round if we do a redraft? J.K. Dobbins, is he still a second round pick? A.J. Dillon, is he still a second round pick? Probably A.J. Dillon, but J.K. and Jonathan Taylor, they probably sneak into the bottom of the first round now that we know what they are. Is it just bad evaluations or lazy evaluations? Josh Jacobs is still definitely a first round pick. Miles Sanders is probably a first round pick. Based off contract, you would think Montgomery's probably a high second round pick. And if Madison ever if he wasn't on the Vikings, he might be a guy that can fight for a second round pick grade. So that's kind of what we're looking at here is like some of these guys, you know, you can't really justify where their draft record is because it really just it depends on performance. It depends on performance. I don't think you could justify it too much either way. Back to the chat, HD. I forgot Tampa Bay. You need to get Bijan. Yeah. I mean, I think he should be in contention at 19. He should be there. If he's there, got to do it. Brees Hall should have been first round pick. Facts. Okay, Brian Robinson second. Okay. Pierce would have been the first round pick. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think, wow, you're not high on Etienne. Okay. And you're dropping Najee down. Okay. And AC saying this lazy analysis, they go off of what they like instead of what is realistic. And Tom is tapping back in. He's our LSU guy. I think Clyde is still, he just has to stay healthy. Okay. So he still would take Edwards-Helaire in the first round. Okay. So I think that's something where the whole running back thing, if I have someone who I believe is special like Bijan, I'm taking him first round, and I wouldn't hesitate. But now, if you're telling me, you know, where's that other kid from? There's another kid from Texas that's nice too. Is he coming out this year? I forget. Gibbs from Bama, like you're not taking him first round. I've seen highlights of this kid from UCLA. Charbonnet, I think that's how you pronounce it. I've seen some highlights of him. He looks very exciting. But I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm an expert on him or whatever. But his highlight tape looks crazy. Thomas, who's that other Texas running back behind Bijan? Because he's nasty too. And is he coming out? Is Clyde a bust because he's a bust, or is he a bust because of the team that he's on? Can you be a real number one running back in the Chiefs offense? Because even if we go back and look at Andy Reid historically, his running backs haven't been dominant number one running backs. Yeah, Brian Westbrook, Deuce Staley might be the closest thing, but even at his apex, he wasn't a really lead back like that. He was a lead back for them, but I wouldn't put him in the upper echelon of backs of his era. So I don't know if that offense really allows for a true number one traditional running back to go crazy like that. So let's see what else we got here. Let me come off the Tom Brady thing. So let's see. This is Timeline T. I am your host, the Sam D. Sam Dusme Jr. This is a stream where we go through news and information and notes that are on the timeline. I go through them. I research which stuff matters, which stuff doesn't, and I give you the pertinent information in a live stream format. So we got tabs here. If you clicked on this live stream, you're probably seeing the title of, is there a smear campaign for CJ Stroud, and is there beef between two NFL analysts? Those two analysts are Brady Quinn and Ryan Clark. We touched on that heavy in the first part of the stream, so if you missed that, you can always catch the replay on the live tab. I'm sure I'll be clipping something from this live stream as a standalone clip, probably over the weekend. So if you missed anything, just stay locked into the channel, and you'll be getting that content. But I always implore, if you miss anything, you can always go back and watch. The video is posted up right away. Let's see what we got here in the chat. In regards to Andy Reid has running back by committees. However, Kareem Hunt was the best back he ever had. Is he better than Brian Westbrook? I mean, maybe better in terms of skill set, better in production. I mean, like you have to be able to run and catch in Andy Reid's system. That's just, you have to be dual threat. You cannot be one-sided. You can't be like Adrian Peterson would have never worked in that offense. Like you just, it just wouldn't work. That's just not the type of running back that Andy Reid covets. Clyde, not nothing exceptional. Isaiah Pacheco was 7th round pick and was legit better than him. Yeah, but again, injuries, right? If someone's, and here we go. He was a healthy scratch. Yeah, sometimes healthy scratch isn't really a healthy scratch, but it is what it is. I'm not going to live and die on the hill of Clyde Edwards-Helaire. That's for sure. Remember Ronnie Brown and Cadillac. I can't remember, both of them went first round for sure. Cadillac went first round because wasn't he the Bucks, Alex? Didn't he get drafted by the Bucks and Ronnie Brown was the Dolphins, right? I think both were first round. Okay, HD Westbrook. Yeah. Westbrook was a problem. I think Deuce was the closest thing to a traditional running back that Andy Reid has ever had. And y'all saw how that worked out, or more importantly, didn't work out. Cruising the timeline real quick. Let's see. Yeah, we're about 2 hours in. I appreciate those who've been able to pull up. I appreciate those who've been able to subscribe. Donation link is down there in the description if you want to tap in that way and support. No pressure. So let's see. We have... It's quiet on the timeline. Not that much here. We talked about earlier in regards to no Kawhi Leonard tonight. If you're into that, if you're tracking the basketball, no Kawhi Leonard tonight. But also remember, there's 2 basketball games going on at the same time. There's 2 West Coast games going on, overlapping each other. The Dubs and the Kings at 10 p.m. and the Phoenix and the Clippers at 10:30. Okay, so Matt Miller, he's been one of my favorites over the years. Good information. His final rankings for the 2023 draft, he thinks the strengths of this draft are running back, tight end, and corner. Weaknesses, interior offensive line, defensive line, and safety. Now, if we use that to track against these mock drafts we've been looking at, that's interesting, because if the strengths of this class are cornerbacks, then why do we have 2 cornerbacks allegedly going in the top 10? Because strengths to me means it's a deep class. And normally we don't get corners going top 10. But we got 2 corners going top 10. That's interesting to me. But that's why we rock with Matt Miller. He can think outside the box. Strengths are running back. So maybe that goes to the whole Bijan thing. Why draft Bijan when allegedly this draft is strong in running backs? And then the tight end thing. This goes to y'all point, I guess, that why draft the tight end in the first round if one of the strengths of the draft is tight end? But you notice who he has a picture of, though, right here. Just saying. Weakness, interior O-lineman, defensive lineman. It's hard to imagine that when you got it. But I guess there's so many edge rushers. How could D-line be a weakness? So maybe the edge rushers are top heavy? Let's see. Come off that for a second. Let me look up some other stuff real quick before we call it a night. Appreciate y'all as always. The stream turned into it's routinely been a 1-hour stream, but because of y'all and the growth of the channel and y'all being active in the chat, we now hit 2 hours like it's pretty easy. Let's see. Nope, not seeing nothing there. A lot of blue check boys and girls still have their blue checks, so that tells you what type of time they're on. as the mystical, magical blue check has disappeared from some of your favorites. Yeah, there's not much left here. Let me see. Maybe there's some basketball stuff here since we were able to talk basketball at the very beginning of the stream. Let's see. No, it's even quiet on that front. Okay. I'm not going to force it. Not much is left here. So we will go ahead and walk away from the stream and call it a night. I appreciate y'all for pulling up. Just a reminder, there will be no stream tomorrow. I have to hop on a flight. There'll be no stream tomorrow, but I will hold y'all down with some clips from earlier in the week. There'll be a clip dropping in a matter of minutes, actually, on this channel from yesterday's stream. So I'm going to be keeping energy with that until I can get back next week. I should be back by Monday, so there may be a stream Monday, but most likely Tuesday. So no stream tomorrow, maybe no stream Monday, but for sure, no matter what, Tuesday we're here, and y'all know Thursday we're going to be here for the first round of the NFL draft. So I appreciate y'all as always. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for tapping in and contributing all that you can. For Timeline T, I am the Sam D. Sid Jr. Peace.